Hi, I'm Howard Nations. The purpose of this video is to bring you up to date on the developments in the Camp Lejeune Justice Act cases and your case. The first topic that we get is, what is the status in court? The cases are filed in the North Carolina Federal District Court, and at the moment they're at a complete standstill. Because there are only 4 judges. There are going to be anywhere from 150,000 to 200,000 cases. And so these judges are quite understandably shaken as to how they're going to handle all that massive amount of cases, in addition to handling their regular docket, which kept them busy all the time anyway. So at the moment, nothing is happening. We're awaiting a ruling from the court, but nothing is advancing up there until that ruling is made. The next question is, what's going on with the filing of my administrative claim in the Navy Judge Advocate General Corps? Navy JAG is overwhelmed. They're understaffed, they're underfunded, and they're overwhelmed with cases. And they are just incapable of handling the caseload that they're getting. I've been talking to the head of the Navy JAG on handling these cases since before we passed the legislation. And he just doesn't have, he only has 10 people to handle 150 to 200,000 cases. And he doesn't have the technology, and he can't get the budget. So it's a real problem. It's holding everything up also. And we can file cases, but they just sit there. Nothing happens right now. So that's something we're working on. The status at the Department of Justice is that they say, we can't talk to you until you get appointed by the court. And they're right, they can't talk to us officially, but we're talking to them about trying to work out a system for handling these cases efficiently. But we can't talk to them in an official capacity until the court appoints us to that official capacity. And as I said, the court is at a standstill. The next question is about settlement negotiations. First of all, there is very, very misleading advertising taking place every day. The first ad came out the day the bill was signed that said that there is a multi-billion-dollar settlement by the government for victims of Camp Lejeune's contaminated water. That is an absolute, total lie. It's also fraudulent. It's misleading the Marines and the other survivors in this case to try to get them to sign up. And they were successful. That law firm that ran that fraudulent ad has signed up more cases than anybody else. But the fact is, there is no settlement. There are no settlement negotiations. The Navy JAG is not set up to negotiate settlements because they're still trying to figure out how to handle intake. DOJ is not set up to handle settlements because they're waiting for the courts to act and make appointments of us so we can have the authority to settle with them. So at the moment, not one penny has been paid in settlement to anybody. Also, there is no settlement negotiation ongoing, and there won't be any until such time as we handle these administrative problems and the government gets to the point where they can move forward in handling these cases. So when you hear about settlement negotiations, you get robocalls about your case has been evaluated at $100,000. That's fraud. That's absolute fraud. So ignore it. Another legitimate question is, what's the value of my case? The value of the cases we will get to when we get to settlement negotiations, but that's the last thing we do in the case. We have to go through all these administrative procedures first. And then there are several other cases. If you have kidney cancer, for example, there are several other cases that are like yours, but they're not just like yours. There's going to be a wide disparity of case values depending upon the individual facts of the case. This is a factually driven lawsuit. Every case depends upon its own individual facts. There can be huge disparity in kidney cancer. For example, if you get someone who is exposed to the water and then a year later they develop kidney cancer, but then they're hit by a car and killed. And so they have basically very little claim. You get another person who has kidney cancer and they have to go through dialysis for 5 years, and then they have to get a kidney transplant, and then they ultimately die from the kidney problem. That case is considerably more valuable than the one where the individual did not have any time of pain and suffering and mental anguish with the diagnosis of kidney cancer. So every case is going to require individual evaluation and very individually factually driven. What are the compensable injuries that you have? The compensable injuries for injury cases as opposed to death cases. The compensable injuries are physical pain, mental anguish, physical disability, physical disfigurement, and damage to wage earning capacity, and medical bills, medical expenses, out-of-pocket expenses that you have. Those are called the compensatory damages. There are no punitive damages in this case. You can't sue the government for punitive damages. That's another thing. Who is the defendant in this case? The defendant in this case is the United States government. We're not suing the Marines. We're not suing, we're suing strictly the U.S. government, and any settlement comes directly from the United States Treasury. Now, on wrongful death cases provide a real problem for us, because in order to proceed with a wrongful death case, we need to have an administrator of the estate to prosecute the claim. So what you can be doing, if you are the beneficiary or the administrator of the estate of one of our deceased clients, you can be pulling together all of the administration papers. If there was a will, it went to court. You had the will probated, a judge appointed administrator, an executor, executrix. We need those papers. And if the estate's been closed, we may have to go back in and open a new estate in order to prosecute these claims. And I know that a lot of these deaths occurred many years ago. The estate's already been closed, so that's going to be a real problem. But any paperwork you have that appoints anybody as administrator, you need to provide that to us. That'll be very efficient, and we cannot prosecute those cases without an administration. The big question that we get is, will this affect my veterans benefits? The answer is that the Veterans Administration is not involved in the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. It has nothing to do with your veterans benefits. The place where it comes in, and this is kind of complicated, but the place where it comes in is if you, let's say you have kidney disease and you're treated at the VA for kidney disease that occurred as a result of your exposure to the water. Well, if you had years of benefits and years of other types of medical care provided by the VA, the only thing they're entitled to is, if you get a settlement, they are entitled to make a claim to be reimbursed only for that portion of the medical care that they provided, or the benefits that they provided specifically for that kidney disease resulting specifically from the contaminated water. In addition to that, we've handled this for years with Medicare, Medicaid, and these types of claims. We always negotiate them. We negotiate them down very strongly. We usually end up paying 15 to 20% of their claim. But that'll come at the end of the litigation, and it will not affect your veterans' benefits. I know everybody's concerned, rightfully so, about their veterans' benefits. Filing a claim does not affect your veterans' benefits. And even if you do have to pay some out of the settlement that you get, it'll be a very nominal amount compared to the value of the case and compared to the full settlement. A couple of other quick questions. If I filed a previous claim and it was denied, can I file again? The answer is yes. There were some claims filed after 2010 and through the last 12 years, and they were denied, or they just were ignored by the Navy JAG. And the answer is yes, you have a new claim created by this statute that we just passed, and it doesn't matter that you had a claim in the past that was denied. Finally, there's a question too of how long will this take? This is not going to happen quickly. Obviously, we're running into delays just by the sheer numbers, just 150 to 200,000 cases to handle, that the Department of Justice is overwhelmed, Navy JAG is overwhelmed, and the courts are overwhelmed. So it's going to take us a while to work this out. And when we do get it worked out, we have adopted ourselves, in my firm, we have proposed a procedure for handling these claims that would be highly efficient and get them handled very expeditiously and fairly. And we're making that proposal to the court once the court starts hearing our cases again and moves forward with the cases. But it's going to be a slow process. And as to at any given moment, the question of what's happening to my claim, at the moment, unfortunately, nothing. We file your claim. We've done all we can do. We process your claim, we file your claim, and then we have to wait until Navy JAG gets together and can deny the claim, which is what we want them to do. But so we're filing claims, and we have to wait 6 months before Navy JAG denies them, and then we'll be able to move forward in the litigation with the North Carolina Federal Court.